Okay. Hi, Aaron. How are you?
Hey Douglas, how you doing?
Doing great. Thank you. Thank you for coming on the show. It's nice to have you here. You are currently in New York, correct? But you're from Australia?
That's right. Yep, I'm in New York. It's hot. I'm unaccustomed to that. I've only ever been here when it was snowing. I don't know what's happening. It's very strange. But yes, I am. I'm just over from. I live just outside of Sydney in the mountains.
Oh, all
I'm
right.
back in Australia. Yeah.
So are you in New York doing a book tour
Yeah,
for the
little
launch?
book tour and then a holiday because I'm just about my series, The Bad Guys, which I've been working on for 10 years. I'm just wrapping it up. I've just been working on the last two episodes, the final episodes. So this book tour will segue into my first holiday in as long as I can remember, which I'm looking forward to very much.
Well, it sounds like you deserve it, so you're in a good place. Lots to do in New York, that's for sure.
Yeah, no, I love it here. I love it here. It's a beautiful city.
I see your book back there, Cat on the Run, and this is the new series. Before we get to that, though, my producer was nice enough to print up a whole bunch of things about you.
Hmm.
There's a website that says like weird facts about Erin and strange facts about her. Unfortunately, or I suppose fortunately, there are no weird facts about you. So it won't be quite as interesting as all that. But it said that you had worked as a painter, an actor, a designer, a grape picker, and a video shop person, comic strip creator, screenwriter. You did all of that prior to writing children's books?
Pretty much. Some of it during as well. I worked in advertising. Yeah, but I wrote my first children's book when I was about 32, and then the first eight of them were just, they were kind of warmly received, but they weren't successful. They didn't find a very big audience. And I was having to work in other jobs to just sort of, I had two little kids, so just trying to make ends meet. And then I was about to give up when I invented my three really popular series, Pig the Pug, Thelma the Unicorn, and The Bad Guys. They just came along when I was about 40, and they all took off overnight. It was like instant success with all of them, and that was the strangest thing, because until the age of 40, there hadn't been the slightest hint of commercial success, and then all of a sudden it just went kaboom. So yeah, look, it's been quite a trip in that respect.
Well, so while you were an actor and a grape picker and all of these other things, you were writing. You were writing children's books?
Yeah, it's through a bunch of it. I think for a long time there was just this very long, deep gestation period where just ideas were kind of forming. But it wasn't until that time around when I was around 40 where I feel like it all converged and I really found my voice, I suppose, is the best way I can describe it. And I think the key to it, because I write for kids, the key to it was that when I wrote my first ones, my kids were very, very young. And when I wrote the ones that became popular, my kids were old enough to have really strong and distinct senses of humor. They were 6 and 8, and I was writing directly for them. And because of that, I think that's why I finally hit the target, because I was writing not for the world or for myself. I was writing for my kid. And that's what made it work.
What about as an actor? It looks like that you were an award-winning actor, as a matter of fact.
I was a dreadful actor.
You were dreadful?
Absolutely.
Really?
I was appalling. Absolute rubbish. But look, I persisted for a long time. It was a choice. And it pains me. I find it excruciating when it's even brought up, because my love of movies is so deep and vast, and my love of beautiful acting is so great. And the fact that just because you love something doesn't mean you're necessarily going to be good at it. And that was the case for me with acting. However, I just made the wrong choice. I picked the wrong side of the camera. As time went on and I discovered what I do now, I realized that the impulse was right. The impulse was to tell stories, but I just picked the wrong job, basically. But no, I was a terrible actor.
Okay, how many series do you have out?
I have, in terms of series, there's four. So there's The Bad Guys, there's Now Cat on the Run, there's Pig the Pug, and Thelma the Unicorn, which is a short series of 2 books. And then there's a bunch of rando books as well that are just sort of make up the numbers. But I've written 48 books altogether. And 40 of them have been in the last 10 years.
Wow. And they're all the children's book series.
Yes. Yes, they are.
How do you determine how many books are going to be in the series?
With The Bad Guys, because there'd been nothing successful before the first one, I never thought it would get beyond the first one. And when it did, the first one blew up so suddenly that I just saw my chance. I saw my opportunity to do a long-running, long-arc story. And the conventional wisdom for kids' books for the ages 6 to 12 is that you don't do... your characters just reboot at the end of each episode, and they just have a new adventure, then reboot, and then so on and so forth. I wanted to do cliffhangers, and it didn't sort of because people would say, but kids that age don't have the attention span to wait for the next installment. But it's proved to be not true. The fact that The Bad Guys, each episode I end on a cliffhanger, and kids have to wait 6 months to see what happens next, has proved to be an amazingly successful thing. And because of the way I'd structured it, and then when I realized I had something successful on my hands that kids were actually waiting for, I mapped out a story arc that ended up being 20 episodes long, which is the last episode is episode 20. As for Cat on the Run, the new one, it began life as a movie. I pitched it as a movie first, and then it's in development at a studio in Hollywood at the moment. And as I was doing that, I thought this would actually make a pretty good book series too. I got kind of excited about that idea, and I took the 3 acts of the movie and I divided it up into the 3 books. So it's a 3-book series. So it depends on the series.
Okay. I did watch the trailer that was out for this. Do you do all your own illustrations?
Yeah, I draw all my own illustrations, and then the joy of like the Dreamworks adaptation of The Bad Guys last year is the delight of seeing people take my funny little drawings and turn them into big 3D gorgeous looking creatures. But yes, all the drawings are mine.
What I saw was that the cat was launching nuclear weapons.
Well, that's what she's accused of. It's the balance which I found funny was the idea that she makes cat videos, which are the most inane things on the planet that everybody loves. And I thought, what's the gravest thing she could be accused of that she didn't do? And it's a gigantic conspiracy that you don't. And what I love about the series too, and by breaking it into 3 books is really satisfying, because kids will think they know what's happening in the first book, but then when they get to the second book, they'll realize that characters they thought were one thing were not, they're another, and that there are hidden layers all the way through it. So it was a perfect way to break up a kind of a mystery for kids in the form of action comedy.
Are you taking a jab at all the cat videos that are out there with us?
Oh, very lovingly, because who doesn't love a cat video? But it just struck me as it really surprised me too that it hadn't been utilized as like the idea of a star of cat videos suddenly, and just the idea of a star of a cat video being in terrible, terrible trouble, and also wanting to talk about the way that the internet just turns on people. And it can happen so suddenly and so fast, and that just seemed like the perfect foil for this kind of story.
Well, I really appreciate that concept, because as a content creator, when I see a 30-second video of a cat sitting on a toilet getting 140 million views, and I'm doing a 15-minute talk show trying to have an intelligent conversation with my guests, and we're not getting anywhere near that. I kind of wonder about society generally.
I hear you. It's one of those things, and I used to feel exactly the same way when I was there, like with my books for years and years and years. I used to be agog at that kind of stuff, but it's just, I think especially for kids too, because it's the world in which they live now. They live in a world of memes, and they live in a world of TikTok and Snapchat. And that is the language that they are increasingly becoming fluent in, and increasingly is their language. And when I make a book, the book is increasingly, I think, an archaic form of expression for kids. So what I wanted to do with this, especially the bad guys did it sort of on its own terms, but in this one, I just saw an opportunity to go, well, how can I take the format of a book and a graphic novel and make it relevant for kids who are coming up now? And it just seemed like a neat way to do it. And also be able to, just create a little bit of a cautionary tale about how, they need to be smart when they're dealing with the big sort of monster of the internet, and just being careful with how they handle it.
What age group are these books designed
6
for?
to 12. 6 to 12. So I'm trying to get them early. Trying to get them think about it early is my plan here. Because my kids, they're 15 and 18 now, but I started writing books, or started this whole run of books that have found an audience began when they were 6 and 8. So I've been following the journey of my kids' childhoods has been completely in sync with the journey of my books. So it just felt like, as I've been watching them increasingly engaged in social media, it just felt like the right sort of topic to start addressing.
Are your kids your number one critics?
Yeah, I think so. But it's really sweet. My youngest, who the first Bad Guys was written directly for, he still loves it when a new one arrives, and they don't read them until they're finished now. They used to have a look at the roughs, but these days they just wait for the finished one. But they dig that they're the first kids in the planet to read the finished one, which is nice.
Is this going to be what you do the rest of your life? Are you going to go back to grape picking or something else?
I don't know. You know what? It's funny. This is what's really exciting about this time is I've now just about to finish The Bad Guys. I'll be finishing Cat on the Run, and the future feels very unwritten at the moment. Maybe it is grape picking. I don't know. That sounds all right at the moment. I don't know. We'll see. But I love, for the very first time in my life, I'm not really sure what I want to do next, and that's a nice feeling. I'm really enjoying it.
Well, the reason I bring that up is because a lot of people in my age group who have worked their whole life doing something inevitably end up gardening.
Yep.
In one way or another. Either they're growing tomatoes, or depending on where they live. So it's always something that people end up doing. So since you've sort of done that already, I didn't know if you were going to...
Full circle, you reckon? Yeah,
full circle back.
Maybe.
Yeah. Well, Aaron, we got to wind this down. Cat on the Run is the latest series. Is this out now?
Yeah, I think it's just released.
Okay, great. And thank you so much for coming on the show. This was a lot of fun. Last question, do you have a website you want to give out?
Yeah. What's it called?
Do you remember it?
Name. It's aaronblabey.com. Yeah, that's the only internet presence I have. I don't have any social media or anything, but yes, no, I have my website.
You don't do social media? Oh, good for you.
No, ironically, given what this book is about. But yeah, no, I flirted with it for a couple of years, but I never felt comfortable, and it always felt kind of performative. I just don't dig it. So I'm paranoid enough without reading the comment sections in things. I'd much rather just do my own thing. And I've been, you know what? That's the thing. I've done 40 books in 10 years. I've just been too busy as well. And it's such a time drain, I find. It's very easy to just go down those rabbit holes. So I'm better off just being nowhere near the rabbit holes, I find.
Oh, well, you can be in there and get lost forever.
Yeah, that's right.
All right, Aaron. Well, thanks again for coming on the show. It was nice meeting you. Best of luck with the book launch.
Take care. Talk to you soon. Bye.